Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. I am joined by Alex Bagley of all people. How are you doing? And I'm doing very well. I mean, the first thing you're going to notice is that's not Steve and Jay. Well, Steve and Jay are off today, so you've got, if anything, the A team.
You are the A team. You've got less 91 Cup Winners' Cup content, maybe a bit more modern era football.
Maybe
more about actual football.
Actual football that's happening this year. Actually, this is so modern, we're going to be talking about future football.
Wow.
Because that's what transfers is.
Wow.
If anything, transfers is future football. And that's how modern we are. We might talk a little bit about the 91 Cup Winners' Cup final, but you know what? There's actually big news this week.
Loads of it.
And we'll get onto that. There's a couple of big stories that have come out. I say a couple of big stories. It's kind of one big story that has been sort of spread over multiple platforms. What's up with that? So first of all, you're grimacing straight away at
Joe
the tea.
has made me a brew.
Yeah.
It's very nice. In the biggest mug of all time.
I'd give it you in the pint glass.
He has. Now, he put one sugar in, but I think you need about 4 for it to be like the usual ratio of sugar to tea.
It's like, do you know in like a swimming pool, like a little back garden, like paddling pool, you put a little bit of chlorine in.
And you kill your child.
No, I've done the same amount of chlorine in an Olympic swimming pool, haven't I?
Essentially,
and that'll stop the algae growing. Next thing you know, everyone's
it's a very
got
good cup of tea, apart from that. And it's just scalded me as well, so it's all good.
Some sort of black mould on the lung after 2 days. Right. Let's get straight into this big story then. We're going to talk about Rashford talking to President Obama in a little bit. We'll also talk a little bit more about the fallout from the Villareal game, which, to be honest, I'm still heavily sickened by. But before that, let's get into the main story from today, because this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the validity of it. I want to talk about the content of it. I want to talk about the timing of it. Essentially, all of Manchester United's transfer plans have been thrown up and thrown out at us fans in the last 24 hours. So this is The Guardian, The Times, The Telegraph, The Daily Mail, ESPN, everyone, The Express, everyone has come out and has said,
Ollie wants 4 players.
Thus.
Go on.
Ollie's been given a budget of 150 million for the summer. That's a net spend budget. So we can maybe do a little bit of maths later on if we want about how we can get rid of some players and buy some players and sort of hit that number. United are looking for a striker, a winger, a defensive midfielder, a centre-back and a right-back. Solskjaer has been told the aim is to sign 3 first-team players ahead of the new season. Sancho, Kane, Grealish, Pau Torres, Sven Botman, Rafael Varane, Declan Rice and Max Aarons are all targets. United priced the total deal for Sancho at close to £250 million last summer, including wages and an agent's fee. West Ham would demand as much as £100 million for Rice. I don't believe that, for starters.
Madness, that.
Whom they have no plans to sell, apparently. Villarreal's Pau Torres, who United just lost to, is priced at around 30 million according to reports in Spain. Real Madrid centre-back Rafael Varane is also on United's radar, with the Frenchman's value in the region of £60 million. So that is a kind of a culmination and an accumulated news brief from what has been coming out in the last 48 hours, 24 hours really. My first question to you, Alex, is, before we get into the actual content of this, do you think all of a sudden all of these outlets coming out at the same time with United's transfer plans is a targeted sort of media, not leak, but sort of a brief from the club to try to distract from what happened on Wednesday night? Because we've seen this before. We've seen this whole, we will be getting a director of football in after big losses. We've seen, the Sancho deal heating up after big losses. Do you think this was United going, we've just had some of the worst PR of the season, let's go and distract them with transfers?
I think it definitely is. I think this is what, is it Neil Ashton was signed for Woodward kind of thing. For as much as it was for Ed Woodward's PR, it was a Manchester United PR move where it's essentially gone, look, United lose this game. The only thing to appease that and appease the fans is we need to be looking to next season. We need to be looking at, these are the 4 players, 5, the 4 positions that are very clear to be said. We know that we need someone on the right-hand side. We know we need a midfielder. We know we need a centre-half. We know we potentially could do with a different striker to Edison Cavani. It's very clear. So it's not brand new news. It's not like they've gone, oh, really? You want a right winger? Really? You want Jadon Sancho? What a surprise. It's nothing too mad. But that leak in the timing of it is just kind of, there you go. We'll give you something. Whether that means that happens, I don't know. Because there's also the £150 million net spend that kind of gets thrown in, which everyone goes, that's a lot of money. But when you kind of go, well, Sancho is most of that. That's half of that gone.
Well, you mentioned that half of that. That's been the latest figure that's been discussed for Sancho. It's rumoured that and again, I say rumour, these are pretty reliable sources saying this, that a fee of 82 million quid, which is that 85 million euros or 90 million euros, would be enough to prize him away from Dortmund. First of all, do you think that fee is realistic? And do you think, the fact that it is 40 million and roughly, what would it be, a third less requested fee than they were asking for last summer at 120 million, do you think now is actually the time to get Sancho when, I won't say his stock has fallen, but he didn't have quite as good a season as this year, and maybe now obviously his price is a little bit lower. Do you think United, if anything, if we do get him this summer, we've played a blinder there because we've got him for 40 million quid less?
I think so. For me, I did the news the other day when it kind of came out that the price was around. It was between Grealish and Sancho thing, and and Sancho was going to be around this 85 million pound mark. I said look. Manchester United should just be able to go out and go, what players do we need? Here's who it is. If it's 120 million, sign it. Don't worry about it. We should be able to do that. We aren't though. We're going to be trying to get the best deal possible and all this kind of stuff. And I think if we have done that, if we do manage to get him for 85 million pounds, 82 million pound, that is a very good deal for a player like Jadon Sancho, who's still only 21 years old.
I think so. I think he's 22
very
soon,
young.
But yeah,
he's just
21.
one of them that's kind of been around for ages. If you get someone like Jadon Sancho for that price, the output he gets, the creativity he gets, the flexibility of someone that's comfortable on the right-hand side but can also play on the left and be comfortable there and play well there, that, straight away, you're essentially replacing what Dan James has done in the squad this season. If not, well, you're obviously doing more than that because he's a starter. He's someone that's going to start every week. But if you think what Dan James has kind of done, fill in the gaps when Marcus has needed a break, filled in the gaps on that right-hand side when Mason needed time out of the team. Even if you did that with someone like Jadon Sancho, he's going to get you... We're going to get 10 more goals. And I think the one thing is, if we'd have spent that 30, 40 million pound extra last summer, would we have won the league? Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not. Probably not. He's not going to give us 20 points.
No.
Is he going to get us? Would he have got us through the group stage of Champions League? Maybe. Maybe we get through. Do we win the Champions League? Probably not.
No.
Do we win the FA Cup? Probably not. It's kind of what we would have got this season for it. Would it have been worth 40 million pounds? I don't think so. I think it's a very good deal if we get him this summer. I think that the worry is that's it. Is that Sancho, £150 million, if we don't sell anybody, doesn't go very far with that. It's that and then a couple of younger players. And is that enough to close the gap? Is that enough to... A lot of people have said it. Is that enough to keep Ollie in the job for another 12, 18 months, to give him that platform?
The thing with Ollie now is, we've talked about improvement, and there is clear statistical improvement year on year under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The only improvement left available to him now is to win the league. Do you know what I mean? We finished second. The only way you can I'm not saying if you look at the nuances of what he actually does, you can't say, well, he improved this, this, and this, even though we only finished third or second again. But for the people who doubt him and the people who don't like him, there is only one thing to do now, and that is go from second to first. And that's such a huge gap to bridge mentally and in terms of quality-wise. And we just bring you some more of these points from this article. This is one from the Telegraph, Mike McGrath, who's a very reliable journalist, a very good journalist. He said Sancho is United's primary target as a wide forward, as you've mentioned there. United would also like to sign a striker, a young central midfielder and a defender. Borussia Dortmund are understood to be desperate to sell this summer to raise money. Apparently, Henderson and De Gea are both unhappy at the prospect of starting next season as a number 2, which I think we already knew. Jack Grealish is admired by United, but bringing Sancho back to England is Solskjaer's preference. Apparently, the market has also been altered by Harry Kane wanting to leave Tottenham, but Daniel Levy is expected to fight to keep the England captain. Southampton's Danny Ings has been amongst the other players United have looked at, which I'd hate to knock anyone. And someone who can get goals for any Premier League club, you can't say, well, he's shit, because he's not. Getting, 18 goals he got from last season? That's not a bad player doing that, but it doesn't fill you with much excitement, does he? United would also like to bring in a young central midfielder, one in the mould of Rennes Eduardo Camavinga, but it would be a player for the future rather than to immediately make an impact. Now, I want to talk about that.
That's odd to me.
Because
really
I think
odd.
A lot of people, and I don't know if it's just because we've spoken about it and then we see people talking and agreeing with us and you kind of feel like everyone thinks this. But from what I see of social media and of our comments and of speaking to people in the street, at the pub, my mates, people from back, people seem to think we need a defensive midfielder. I think we need a defensive midfielder.
I agree completely.
And the idea that the only midfielder we're going to be getting is like some young for the future kid, that to me is a bit of a worry. Is that to you?
It does a little bit, because I think If you don't get a defensive midfield, the thing is, if you don't get a centre back for next season, you go into the next season with Maguire, Lindelof, and Bailly, and Tuanzebe.
Yeah.
It's not great. I think that these last few games has kind of gone to me, wow, we need somebody else that's quality there. We need somebody else, because if you lose Harry Maguire, because this is my criticism of Liverpool all year. If you go into yes, you've got Van Dijk, but if you go into that with Gomez and Matip as your number twos, you've not got a replacement there. It's not like how City have got Diaz. If Diaz drops out, Laporte steps in. If Stones dropped out, Laporte steps in. That's a very big... They've got 3 or 4 very good centre-halves who are comfortable being the main man.
Yeah.
Whereas Liverpool only had Van Dijk. The 2 below them weren't very good. And it's kind of the situation with United is Maguire's very good. We've got a number 2. We've got 2 number 2 centre-backs who'll do a job alongside someone. But I think we need another. You look with when we had even Rio and Vidic towards the end of their careers, Rio and Johnny Evans was a good partnership. Mm-hmm. Rio and Smalling was a good partnership. Vidic and Smalling, Vidic and Evans, they were all good partnerships. But as soon as you took Rio and Vidic out after that season, it was scary.
All hell broke loose.
All hell, because it was. You're now looking at Smalling and Jones and going, wow, they can't do it.
No.
But Jones alongside Rio, we're like, he's all right, him.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at the minute. Maguire alongside Lindelof is okay. But I think you need someone else. You need someone better, because it's only one injury away for us having a very shaky back four, which it has been for the past 12 months. And all of a sudden, maybe you sign someone like Varane that comes in, or Pau Torres that fits on that right-hand side a bit better. And I've said, look what happened with City this year. They signed Diaz to what looked like to partner Laporte. And then all of a sudden, John Stones is the better option. So maybe you sign Varane, and then you go, well, Tuanzebe actually does the job a little bit better alongside Varane, and that becomes your partnership.
Can I ask you a question about Pau Torres?
You can.
Does it worry you that he looks quite a lot like Victor Lindelof?
He looks a very young player.
He looks like Victor Lindelof, though, doesn't he? Same sort of hair. We've got the thumbnail there. Same sort of hair. Same kind of head structure.
Like him, doesn't it?
I think, and I'm not just saying this because I believe a lot in and this happens a lot in politics, and it's quite well understood in politics. Like, if you don't look like the Prime Minister, I mean, Boris Johnson is a miraculous exception to this. But people will struggle to vote for someone who they don't think looks right.
Yeah. And
it's it's shallow and it's weird and it doesn't make sense, but it is a thing. Same with job interviews, same with all that sort of stuff. Tall people tend to do, that kind of like psychology thing. I honestly think if we sign Pau Torres, he would get some criticism based on the fact he looks like Victor Lindelof. People will be keen to compare the two when he first comes in.
And
mark my words.
He
on
looks
that.
He looks a bit skinny and frail.
Yes.
Maybe not built for the Premier League.
Exactly.
Kind of going, yeah, but he's really good.
You can already write the criticisms that bad pundits will throw at him, who don't really watch United, who see a couple of games, who go, well, is he just another Victor Lindelof? Or like you said, he looks a bit skinny for this league. It's like, what are you on about?
Yeah, is he up to speed of this league yet? Can he handle Chris Ward at Burnley?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to see all of that stuff. But, it's silly. And obviously, he will be able to prove himself away from any of that sort of comparison very quickly. But you know what I mean?
It's strange how I think that article's coming out, and I do kind of agree with it the last few weeks. I've been all on, if we get a centre-back, even if it's a backup one, I think that'll do us. I think a midfielder helps. I think a Rice in front of a Maguire and Lindelof is better than a Varane behind McTominay and Fred. That was kind of my thought process.
Yeah.
But for how bad United have been defending these last few games, with McTominay and Fred in midfield, with all that, with the fact that it's Bailly and Lindelof, has been really, really poor. They've been really poor.
Yeah. Just a couple of comments I'd like to read here, both from KG. Hello, mate. The first one is the words, "You look like a very camp Jesus," right? All in lowercase. The second one, the exact same comment, all in capital letters. So I saw them both. Cheers. Also, I don't look any more camp than he did. I just look like him. If there is any campness, that comes from the personality, not from the looks. Anyway, we've got a super chat from Ajmal Cosman. He said, my God, Jesus, don't compare Lindelof to Pau Torres. He was clocked as the fastest defender in the league last season. He's taller than Lindelof, maybe not well built. There was a thing as well, though. Was it Harry Maguire? Who was it that was clocked as like one of the fastest sprinters in the league a couple of seasons ago? I think it was someone surprising. It was just someone who was like dead tall with like big stride length.
It was Van Dijk, wasn't it?
I don't know if it wasn't Van Dijk because he's known for being quick. I can't remember who it was, but when you talk about top end speed, that's not the same as looking quick as a footballer.
No.
Because looking quick as a footballer generally is your first 5, your first 10 yards. Whereas someone like Chris Smalling, I think maybe it was him, over 100 metres, Chris Smalling is rapid.
He's massive, Chris Smalling.
Exactly. But over 5 metres, Eden Hazard used to make him look like, I don't even know, a car with no engine in it, just being pushed up a hill. But yeah, people saying Smalling it was. Yeah, I thought it might have been Smalling. Yeah. So it's like, and Phil Jagielka, that is another one that was said. He was actually clocked as being dead quick.
They're probably quick.
But Phil Jagielka is slow as sin. We know that.
Slow as sin.
Let's move on to one of the next targets then, because we're kind of seeing contrasting points here. One is United want to sign a young midfielder. The other is United are well up for signing Declan Rice. First of all, how do you sort of pair those two statements? Do you think it's a mistake? Do you think the Rice stuff is being blown out of proportion? Or do you think we want Rice, but if we think the fee is too much, because that's what's being rumoured, £100 million, do you think we may go for someone younger? And also, no one's paying £100 million for Rice.
I hope they don't. I really hope that Declan Rice isn't our top transfer this summer. That's. I don't think that works. I don't think that's a good thing. I think the pressure beyond. Look at the pressure on Harry Maguire, who's done very well. Yeah. If you sign Declan Rice for £100 million, it's going to be horrendous. The PR around that's going to be horrendous. But I think that in the same way that there's kind of a rankings of the transfers in terms of, Sancho's on number 1, maybe like Sarr's on that list, Grealish is on that list somewhere of who we want as forward positions. In midfield, you've got Rice, Camavinga, probably Basuma from Brighton's probably on there. I think there's also a ranking of we need a right winger first. Yes. That's number 1. He's number 1 on the list. Get that done first. Then midfielder is next. Let's get that. How much money have you got left for that? If you've not got that much left, sign someone that's £30 million. Whether you can do that, I don't know. Whether that's a thing for Manchester United, but I think that there's definitely get these done first, and then we'll look at a centre half. And I think centre half is probably 3rd on that list. I think striker's 4th, which is why I think that the Harry Kane stuff's not going to happen, because I think that if we spend that 150 million already, I don't think Ollie's going to go, well, we need someone. I don't think he gets someone on the free as a centre forward. I think if you've managed to get a couple of them at a cheaper price and you've still got 75 million free and they want Martial or something, then I think that you can look at a Harry Kane or something like that. But I just don't see that happening. I think there's obviously a ranking of the importance of this, and I do think striker is very low on it. And I think midfielder is probably number 2.
Got a super chat from Brian. He said, yesterday you put up a video as live, but it wasn't live. We spent money on super chats thinking it was live. Apologise. What I will say is there is a feature called Premiere in a video where you put up a video and people can come in and watch it together at the same time playing. It's not pretending to be live. It's a YouTube feature that is pretty well established. If any video says premiering underneath it, it isn't live. It's being played live, like when you go to the cinema. The actors aren't actually there acting live. It's just being played for you. So it's just a different feature. If you did put a super chat in, comment it under this or comment another comment, Brian, and I will read it out. But it's not trying to pretend to be live. It is just a separate feature that YouTube has where you can premiere video so everyone can sit and watch it at the same time and comment together while it's coming out. And because that video was talking about the match before and Ollie, we thought it'd be good so that people could get in the comments and comment to each other and have a conversation in real time. But it's not any sort of trick or meaning to make you think it's live when it's not. It's just a separate feature. But yeah, put a message in and we'll read it out if you want to chat to us. I've just thought of something actually.
That's never good.
This podcast is sponsored by Manscaped.
It certainly is.
It's sponsored by Manscaped, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for those at home who don't know, Alex, tell the people what Manscaped is.
Manscaped is the number 1 below the belt grooming product. It's a great phrase that.
Yeah.
They have what's known as the Lawnmower 3.0, which is a fantastic device that essentially trims below the belt.
Yeah.
Your balls, anything you want. As Mr. Housen says, your gooch, if you really want to go down that way. Not recommended, but anything below the belt.
Do you want to know a little tip as well?
Go on.
Don't neglect the inner thigh.
The inner thigh.
Because sometimes you think everything's looking great. Everything's looking great. And then one time I caught myself in the mirror because I'd just gone for the nest.
The normal area.
The nest.
Right.
The crown jewels.
Yeah.
And, round the sort of the gennel.
Right.
As I like to call it. Because that's what connects the front door and the back door.
Okay.
But then I looked at myself in the mirror, all very tidy in the middle, round the edge, rubbish. It looked like, do you know when you go on like a public park and there's like a footpath that goes around it, but it's just been that's just been made by people walking the same route over and over again.
That's
It
what
looked like that.
Right,
There was like a footpath down the middle, but really bushy around the sides, like the fairway on a golf course.
Right, okay.
And then, but there was still a lot of rough.
Too much rough.
Too much rough.
Way
it was
too
much. A deep rough.
Which you can't,
It's
have
like
in the, you
sawgrass.
can't have in the summer.
You can't have that in the summer. So
don't
don't neglect the upper thigh.
But yes, the Lawnmower 3.0 has 3.0 has anti-nick technology, so no blood.
And
That
that's
is
not
the
your
essential
uncle's
thing.
girlfriend called Nicola.
This
Not
is
that
just-
anti-nick.
No, it's anti-nicking, cutting yourself.
Yeah.
Anti-nick technology, very, very good. They've also got all sorts of different things. So they've got different product called the Crop Preserver,
Yes.
which is a deodorant, Crop Reviver, little spray.
Yeah.
As you're going out the door, if you want your nether regions to smell a little bit better as you're leaving, the foot duster that comes in this, all of that's available at Manscaped. They also come, if you buy the Perfect Package 3.0, it comes with a t-shirt, it comes with some very, very good boxes, doesn't it?
It also comes with a little travel case to put all your stuff in.
It's a very premium travel.
Yeah, and our viewers can get... I mean, it's a sensational deal, isn't it, Alex?
20% off and free shipping.
Yeah, and what do they have to do to that? Surely to get 20% off and free shipping, you probably have to take some pictures of you downstairs. You have to sort of get those rated by some independent adjudicator. 2 to 6 months later, they come back and no?
No, not even that. All you've got to do, click the link in the description, and then go to the checkout and use the code HOWSON20, HOWSON 20 at checkout, and that's it, done. Finished.
HOWSON20 at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Your balls will thank you,
Your
won't
balls
they?
will, thank you.
Speaking of balls,
Go on.
we like footballs, don't we?
Footballs, we
And that's
certainly
not
do.
kicking someone in the balls. That is a sport.
Yes.
Marcus Rashford.
He's bloody good, that.
He's pretty good, isn't he? And speaking of pretty good, someone else who some people like, some people don't like, Mr. Barack Obama. President Barack Obama, to you, actually. They've been having a little chat.
It's madness, isn't it?
How weird is that?
It's ridiculous where Marcus Rashford's got to this year. So many people have gone on at him about football this week and his bad performances, and he came out with obviously that statement saying he's had so much to deal with in terms of his injuries this past 12 months.
Yeah.
What he's managed, how he's been playing through pain, what he wants to do. He needs to get surgery. He's waiting until after the Euros to get all that done because he wanted to play for Manchester United. He wanted to do that. And a lot of people have said maybe Ollie should have rested him, but maybe Ollie didn't have the players to rest him.
And also, just sorry to interrupt you there. In terms of throughout the whole season, I agree he could have been rested more. But the last 4 games before the final, he played 90 minutes once.
Yep.
He was left out completely of one game and played 20 minutes in the other 2, or 40 minutes combined. So it wasn't like he played every minute up to the final.
No.
I think in the last 4 games he played 140 minutes, 130 minutes, which isn't that much.
No.
But obviously it was kind of too little, too late by that point.
Yeah, it was a little bit too little, too late. But look, and he's managed to do well. And maybe this is down to the fact that Ollie, if you got someone like a Jadon Sancho, you could have taken Marcus Rashford out. But whilst all this has been going on, he's been unbelievable off the pitch. And forget what you're saying, he's been very good on the pitch still. This hasn't distracted him. He's been extremely good on the pitch throughout this entire pandemic and all that kind of stuff. He's done all the stuff with the free school meals, calling out the government, getting the right decisions. It came out this week that people got told to not pick a fight with him because he was.
I was going to say was that Dominic Cummings saying that?
Don't pick a fight with Marcus Rashford. You're going to lose.
Yeah.
And they did. They lost, and it was bang on every
Twice.
time. Twice. He's now done a book for. Is it under 16s? That's the usual. That's the type market.
I think so,
kind
yeah.
of thing.
But any young adults,
Any
kids
young
as
adult
well.
stuff, and he's speaking to Barack Obama.
I know.
He's taking to Barack Obama out of it, and Barack Obama's come out and said he's ahead of where I was at 23 years old.
Well, I've got the quotes
Wow.
here, so let's get into some of those. He said, "A lot of people I meet, including Marcus, they're ahead of where I was when I was 23," said Obama. Oh, just Obama. They're already making changes and being positive forces in their communities. Obama, 59. We're going to sign him on a transfer. Obama, 59. So he is getting on a bit.
He is getting on
Maybe
a bit.
his best years are behind him because he had those 8 great years, didn't he? But we've not really seen so much of him in the last 5 years. Obama, 59. Still has 2 years left on his current contract at Borussia Dortmund. Obama and Rashford spoke over a video conference and also discussed their shared experiences, including being raised by single mothers. I mean, just the meeting itself is sensational. It shows how much Marcus Rashford has done off the pitch in the last 12 months. And like you said, I think his form has dipped in the last couple of months. But if you look at the stats this season, he's United's second top goal scorer. I think he's United's second top assister as well, both behind Bruno. So he has had a very good year, a record year for him as well in terms of goals, I believe. So it's been a good year for him, and I mean, what a ridiculous thing to happen that is. I wonder, at this, 5 years ago, if you told Marcus Rashford you're going to be having a chat with Barack Obama.
Yeah, and the amount of people that have come out and said he needs to stick to football, he needs to do things like that. No, he shouldn't, because there is only a short time frame when these guys have not just got to do their off the pitch stuff in terms of their own careers, but there's only a certain time when they're in the public eye enough for them to be listened to, and that's a horrible thing to say, but it can be true. The point. If Marcus Rashford gets injured and fizzles out and his career's over by the time he's 28 or something, he's not going to be in the public eye. People aren't going to be doing all this stuff, and people aren't going to be listening to him. But he's got that. He's relatable to so many people, and he's done a fantastic job with everything he's done, and hope all goes well with the book and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too. Let's move on a little bit then. Talk about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he got a lot of stick, as you would imagine, after the Villareal game, which to an extent I agree with, because at the end of the day, if you don't win the game, there is blame to be handed out, whether you think it's going to Ollie or the players or both or whatever. It's funny to me kind of a little bit, because when you talk about how we lost that game, the 21st penalty being taken, 22nd penalty being taken, 21 penalties in a row being scored. There aren't many finer margins in sport, let alone football, that a game can come down to. And yet, if their goalie had missed his penalty and David De Gea had scored, you would have seen nothing but praise for Ollie. You'd have seen nothing but praise for all the players. And instead, their penalty is scored by the goalie, and our goalie misses his, and it's nothing but criticism, which to me doesn't quite make sense, because it's not like the Europa League was the end target for the season. That's not the end of the road. But, that's how things go, and understandably. However, there have been rumours in the last 24 hours that Solskjaer is about to be rewarded for this season, which was finishing second. It was getting to a Europa League final, by getting a new 3-year contract. What do you make of the timing of that news coming out? Because again, this is the Times. Yeah. So, regardless of what you think of the political affiliations of any of these newspapers, the Times is a reliable newspaper for sporting rumours. The timing and the content of that.
I mean, how long has he got? Has he got about a year left?
I think he's got a year left on him.
The thing is with those contractors, you can't leave a manager with a year left to go. You can't be saying, unless you're Roy Hodgson and you're going to retire, you can't have someone like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with a year left. So he needed to, either need to be moving on or give him a contract. And I don't think moving on is the right decision. I know you guys talked about all the other options and stuff, and I think that short term, you spoke about Conte yesterday. I think that you bring Conte in, I think there's a short term success there. Yeah. But I think that what you need to do with that is you will need to reinvest in 3 years when he leaves. Mm-hmm. That's going to happen. You're going to need to completely change to something new. Yeah. And I think that needs to be Manchester United aren't that football club that are going to spend 200 million on a manager to give him his project. He's going to leave, and then you've got to do another project.
Because we've
done that, and it doesn't work.
Exactly, we tried that, and look where it got us. It got us, falling out with the most predictably falling outable manager of all time, Jose Mourinho. And then you go, well, hang on a sec. Our average height is 6'3". Everyone's over 30. We've got to go again now, and that's what's had to happen. It's like we need a mentality and a culture at the club that is sustained regardless of the manager, rather than
because I think that I think that people are right to question Ollie, and if he had 2 years left, I would understand it. If it would be risky to give Ollie just an extension of a year, but I think that would make sense to sort of give him 2 years. Look, you got 2 more years left of this. Yeah. Because for me, I'd still be looking at who's next. I still think there could be an upgrade. I think they should be looking at that. But there isn't a clear upgrade in this kind of... I don't think Pochettino's a clear upgrade on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. No. Because what are you going to do? Play better football and not win? We can... What's the point in that? Yeah. That's kind of where you get with... There isn't someone that's tried and tested, won stuff, plays similar football, plays attacking football, free flow out there. There isn't a Pep Guardiola sat there going...
The best manager in the world is Pep Guardiola, if we're honest.
Yeah, you've got Pep.
And we ain't getting him.
You've got Klopp. Who else is out there? Zidane. Does Zidane come in and... I think for me, Zidane is what Ollie is to Real Madrid in terms of has managed very well, has managed that team very well at a very tough time, and has got the best out of that team. I don't think he's changed them. He's not come in and made some massive tactical changes. No. He gave the freedom to Cristiano Ronaldo and Benzema to score a load of goals. That's what he's done.
And he did well last season when he won the league, when maybe they weren't at their best, but also at that time Barcelona weren't at their best. No. And he has done great. He did do great things with that team, but like you said, he didn't win many leagues, and he had the best player of all time playing for him. So I'm not knocking him because I think he deserves a bit more respect than he gets.
I think that the Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer thing is, I think we should be on the scout for the next thing. But I think I managed to sit down on the day off yesterday and watch that the United way, and see it is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at the managers of Manchester United who've been successful, the two very big periods, managers have been there for 20 odd years. And I think that for as much as that may not be achievable in today's game, I think Manchester United should always be looking for that. Should be always looking for the person that's going to come in and be at the club for a long time, whether that's a manager or a coach or a director of football, that is going to be the man that sits there and goes, this is the plan we're going to have. I'm going to get coaches in here, there and everywhere. Because essentially, like, Fergie was a manager / director of football for most of it.
Queiroz in. He got...
you had Midfielder, you had Ronnie Mullenstein, you had Steve McLaren, all these coaches
Brian
coming
Kidd.
in. I think United should always be looking for that.
Yeah.
Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer may be the stopgap, maybe the one that does 5 years and then leaves, and then that manager comes in. Maybe it's a United player that's only just retired. Maybe someone that's coming through that's coaching elsewhere that kind of breaks through and goes, "Wow, they're impressive." I've not seen that yet. I just don't think we aren't a club that hires someone like Conte because, like I said, you'd need to put 200 million into in this summer, and you'd also need to put 200 million in 3 years when he leaves because he's done that 3 times now.
Yeah.
Like it's not happened once. He's done that. It's the same, but same thing with Jose Mourinho. You knew you were going to have to invest in him right there and then, which we didn't do.
Yeah.
And then you knew that you'd have to disassemble it and start again. And that's what you'd have to do with Conte. Now, maybe someone like Nagelsmann would have been a more natural progression. And they've kind of got on board with that a bit more.
Yeah.
That kind of makes more sense to me. Conte, for as successful as I think he'd be, it's success for a year. And I don't think United shouldn't be looking for that. They shouldn't be looking for how do we beat Manchester City next season and then fall off again. We need to be looking at how do we get back to where we were, where we are one of the 2 best or at least the best team every year for the next 20 years. How do we get to that level? Because that's what Fergie did. For as much as we had dips, we were one of the 2.
And for people to say that you can't do that anymore, and I know City have outspent us, but City have done that. The last decade, they have been the team to beat every year. If you basically since 2011, and this includes when United did beat them, if you beat City, you win the league.
Yeah.
Roughly speaking, that has been the case, and that was the case with United for the 20 years before that. If you beat Man United, you win the league. I think we finished 3rd twice and 2nd or 1st every other year.
And they did that by building up to Pep.
Exactly.
They did that by building up to. They had a plan of Pep Guardiola is going to be the manager. Now, look, if you said to me, we're going to look at it and go, Conte in 3 years is going to be the manager.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Conte coming in after Mourinho does a better job quicker. I mean, he's signed half of our players and been successful.
Yeah.
Like, that could have happened. But I think that you need to look at a manager in 5 years' time or 2 years' time that's going to be the next one. Maybe it's maybe you trust Pochettino, whatever it is. But that needs to be a plan that's going to happen over a long time. Look what City have done. They signed Mancini, but as soon as that guy from Barcelona came in, the director of football, the plan was always to get Pep Guardiola in to play that style of football with these kind of players, and we're going to build that. And the reason they've done well is they've been the best team in the transfer market since 2011. Like they're
in the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
To get to the point where they're at now, they've beaten everyone in the transfer market every year. There's been one season when they've not, and that's when Liverpool signed Van Dijk. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the only time they kind of missed out, and you kind of went, they could have done that there.
Yeah.
And maybe even when we got Maguire off them, if they'd have got Maguire the year before, they may have not slipped up. That's it. But they've always signed the right players for 10 years now, and that's what United are trying to catch up on. And I think people think that one summer, one manager, one thing is going to change it, and that's not. You're not going to beat them by getting a Conte in and signing 2 players. That doesn't beat Manchester City. Getting
Conte in and then getting Lukaku back isn't going to get us top first.
Say Lukaku in there, centre half, Skriniar. Get them 2. That wins. It might do for a year. He might get everything right. It all falls to pieces when you realise that they're both aging a little bit and you've not quite got the squad for it, and it all falls to pieces.
I saw a lot of people talking on Twitter about saying, why are we giving him a new contract? No one else would want him, and just give him a rolling contract because he doesn't deserve a contract. You've got to know, first of all, other clubs would want him. I don't think there's a club in the world that Ollie would rather be at than Man United. So in terms of him quitting to go to Everton or Palace or West Ham or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen, or Wolves. But there are plenty of clubs in Europe that would now hire Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after what he's done at Manchester United. No doubt about that. And good clubs, top flight Champions League clubs in different countries around Europe. The second point is, you can't just give someone a rolling contract or allow his contract to go down to a year, 6 months, 8 months, 4 months, whatever. Because if you're Jadon Sancho and I say to you, I'm Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you're Jadon Sancho, I come in and say, I want you to come to Manchester United. You're going to be the main man on that right-hand side. That whole side of the pitch is yours. Work with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Get this going. Work with Cavani. Work with all these people. That is your side of the pitch to do what you want with. Make it your own. But I've only got 8 months left on my contract. Yeah, you think, well, if the next person in is Jose, for instance, I won't be at United, but you know what I mean? Someone like Jose, I might be replaced with 31-year-old Perisic in 10 months. How can I dedicate the next 5 years of my career to a club and a manager that is unstable? You can't.
No.
So it doesn't make any sense to keep Ole on a short contract, regardless of whether you like him or not. I would rather have stability at the club that ends up having to give him a payout in 2 years' time or 6 months' time than have a manager that's got 6 months left on his contract. How amateurish and unstable is that of a club to look like that?
It would be. You can't do that. You have to give the players some kind of trust in what's going on. But also, there's a lot of people who said that, if things weren't going right for Ollie, he walks away. But I don't think people would understand the panic that would happen if he just walked away. If he got to the end of a season and you're saying just give him on a rolling contract, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer kind of goes, all right, I'm done. I've done the best I can. You're not backing me. He walks away, and now look what we're trying to do. We're plucking these names out for who you're going to get. That panic of we haven't got a manager, we haven't got something in place. Because if you have to get rid of him, what you'll have done is probably eyed up who's going to come in and replace him. Yeah, you've got an idea. If he walks away in 12 months' time on this rolling contract, and you weren't expecting it because you didn't back him, and he's gone, do you know what? It's too much for this. Yeah. What do you do then? You're panicking. Imagine that if you just get in the season gone. Yeah. Who do you get? What do you do in that kind of situation?
I don't know.
You've not got a contingency plan of we're going to spend that money on Poch because he's at PSG having a great time earning a load of money. Yeah. Why you can't just do that?
No. And speaking of Poch, people in the comments who were saying Ollie wouldn't get a job at a top four club across Europe. Look what Poch did with Tottenham. I think he increased their average league position by 1. On average, from the 5 years before, the 3 years before, to the 3 years that he was there, 5 years he was there. He then got the biggest job in France, has then failed in that job, and no one is talking about him going to, maybe Tottenham is the one, but people would say he would get a top four job in Italy.
People talk about Madrid.
Madrid. People are blinded by their dislike for Ole into thinking that a manager that, someone said it very well here before, Ole's finished top 3 twice in a row with an underfunded squad whilst getting to 5 semi-finals. He also has great man management. He walks into a top 4 team in almost every league in Europe. He would get into a top 4 team in France. Yeah. If Poch can get PSG's job, you don't think Ole can get Lille's job? Definitely or, maybe not Lille because they won the league, Lyon or Marseille or someone. I've got a frog in my throat here.
Is that a cup of tea, yeah.
But Nagelsmann, he's talked about as one of the best managers in Europe. He's not won out. Or very little.
It's this style of play
stuff. It's a style of play thing. He's an attractive, young, cool manager. But he hasn't won the league with them. And I know you've got this Titan in Rome, in Bayern Munich to overthrow. But I think people sometimes think no one likes Ole except us because for so long, people based him getting the job on being a legend at United. When actually he got the job because of winning games as Manchester United manager. So whilst I agree maybe he's not the most proven manager in the world, he would get a top 4 job in France, a top 4 job in maybe Spain, maybe not Spain, certainly Italy, certainly Portugal, certainly...
I mean, come on, Gary Neville got a job in Valencia.
Exactly.
Ollie could get a job like that. There's a possibility that happens. He's got a pretty good CV now of turning a team that was all over the place into stabilising one. And maybe that only applies to Manchester United. Maybe it's because of his culture and the way he knows around Manchester United. Maybe it only does apply there. But he's still a good manager. He's still done some very good things across his career outside of Manchester United. And I think that, he definitely gets a job elsewhere. You can't have him running his contract down. That's not a thing that we do either. And I don't think there's a realistic thing that they're going to get rid of him this summer and get someone in because I don't think there's a clear
I don't.
manager to come in.
Someone's saying it as well. I like Ollie, but no cups in 4 years at Man United is tough to defend. It hasn't been at United for 4 years. He's been at United for 2.5 years, which isn't 4 years. If he doesn't win anything in 4 years, then you can maybe start asking questions.
And also, this is a very Jose comment, but we've got 2 in 8. Like it's not like Ollie came in and stopped the trophies. We've not had many trophies for a while now. It's not like he's walking into a team. It's not like he said, because that's what Jose said about Sevilla. Sevilla have been successful in Europe. They've won the Europa League 3 times on the spin. Mm-hmm. That's a successful team. If they stop winning stuff, you go, oh, something's changed there. Manchester United haven't won a lot. They've won 3 trophies since Fergie's retired.
Yeah.
4 if you count the Charity Shield.
Which
we don't.
Only Jose counts.
Only Jose counts.
We've got a super chat, and I agree with you there. Abdullah Ibrahim says, footy fans today are obsessed with style over substance. If Conte came in and was successful, people would complain about his style. I still believe in Ollie. Interesting point there. I think if Jose had won trophies, let's go, because he's a manager we have had where people didn't necessarily like the style of play. I would have loved to have won trophies under Jose. Once they're in, here's the thing. Once the Man United manager is the Man United manager, my tendency is to back them because I support Manchester United, and whilst I think they're doing a good job for United, I will back them and support them. And I think for a long time, Jose was moving in the right direction, finishing second, decent season. The next season, the wheels fell off and everything went to crap. Yeah. But I would have liked to have won trophies under Jose, or the big trophies under Jose, just because he didn't play a style of football that I enjoyed. Doesn't mean I didn't want him to do well.
Same with Van Gaal. We hated the football, but we were all happy we were all supporting him till the end of what was going on. And the style of play thing. Look, it's great being able to play fantastic football. But look, Jose Mourinho, if you got someone in that parked the bus and we won 1-0 every week, at some point you don't really care. You don't care as long as we're winning trophies. Mm-hmm. I think we've gone for the right decision in terms of, look, we need a long-term plan of this is how we're going to play football. We're going to have attacking wingers. We're going to have relatively free-flowing football. We are going to attack teams more than sit back and defend. Yes, that's counter-attacking at times, but we've scored a lot more goals. That stat of scoring 3 goals in a game, we've done that under Ollie. Yeah. We've got players that are more technical. We have got players that run more. We've got more pacey players and things like that. That is something that Ollie has brought in, and that is always going to be the way. It's players that put a shift in for Manchester United, and at the end of the day, try and entertain and score goals. Yeah. That's the blueprint now. It may not be the same tiki-taka football. It's not that kind of thing, but it's run your bollocks off, score goals. That's kind of
score goals quickly. Thing. And that's, people like counter-attack means defensive football. We counter-attacked a lot under Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah. Counter-attacking football is great to watch. Mm-hmm. Counter-attacking doesn't mean sitting back for 60 minutes and attacking once, like Jose did with Tottenham. That was horrible to watch. Yeah. Counter-attacking means when they've got the ball, you sit back, and as soon as you get it, you smash forward. That's great to watch. It's not boring. No. We've got a super chat, a couple more super chats actually. If I can just go back and get it. From Caleb, he said, big names sell, but there are some less talked about from smaller clubs you would bring into United, like Bissouma, St. Maximin, etc. They wouldn't all be starters, but we need a deeper squad too. Bissouma gets mentioned a lot, but St. Maximin's a very, very good player, isn't he? I really like him.
I like him, but I think that's a Sancho alternative kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that Sancho's going to get done. I don't think United can afford not to do that in terms of we needed that play for. Yeah, I think that's almost done. I think that's going to get done. I don't think PR wise Manchester United could go through this summer and not sign Jadon Sancho.
Yeah, I don't think the Glazers could do it. I don't think John Murta could do it. I think there's a lot of people at Manchester United that need that Jadon Sancho deal to be done, and not least the player. We just said the manager.
We said in the office before, it wouldn't surprise me if this summer we got Sancho and Ronaldo. Yeah. It's not the right summer. We need defensive players. Yeah. But I think that in terms of ticking boxes and making, lifting the mood a bit, that's what's going to happen. I think Sancho is the one that's the definite in all of that.
Yeah. We've got a couple of super chats. One from Arjun. He says, as a coach, Ollie improved players like Fred, McTominay, Shaw. He needs to be given his players for United to compete with the likes of City and Liverpool. Yeah, I think you can add a couple of more names to that. I think you can add Marcus Rashford to that. I think he's improved. Obviously, Mason Greenwood's a great talent, but I think the way he's been handled under Ollie, you have to give him credit for that. I think he's improved a lot of players. You've got to credit him for the improvement, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. The situation around Paul Pogba is the healthiest it's been in probably 3 or 4 years. Ollie's man management, and as a manager, I think he's one of the best in the league at that. The tactics, the sort of understanding how to win trophies with a big team, maybe you can question some of that side of things. But as a man manager, everything that anyone who plays under him says leads me to believe he is an excellent man manager. Sahar Shetty with another super chat. He says, Ollie lacks the courage and conviction to drop or sub top players. The final was an example of his failings. Maybe, but I don't think there was an obvious option off the bench. That,
I think in that, I think the conviction side of it, I think this is going to sound crazy to people, I think he bottled starting Fred McTominay. I think that's worked all season. I think that it's crazy to me that he didn't start that, because that, to me, worked all season. I think that the problem there was that if you do that, you have to drop one of Pogba, Rashford or Mason.
Yeah.
And I don't think he wanted to do that. And I think that may have cost us, which people are going to go, why is it, Fred McTominay, we don't want that. I said, but that's worked. He's gone with that for every big game this season. He's not deviated from that. And I think that was his failure. Because like people mentioned about subbing people on, if you'd have done that and left Mason on the bench, or even if you left Marcus on the bench, knowing he's not fit, but bringing Marcus on against that Villareal team who were knackered. Yeah. We were knackered as well. Yeah. But if you'd have put Marcus on, who was for half an hour, with his quality, when things were opening up a little bit, he'd have done a lot better. And I think that for me, I do think he made the wrong decisions in the final. I think he started by over Twanzebe as kind of a
play it safe.
I think Twanzebe fits that back four on the left-hand side better. I think he proved that in the games leading up to it. I think he played it a bit safe there. I think he was worried about Gerard Moreno, who still scored anyway. Yeah. But I think that he was worried there with that and didn't play Twanzebe. I think there's a couple of decisions he needed to stick by, but it meant you had to drop someone. And look, they're decisions you have to make, and I think that he'll only learn from it. And I think people are looking at Manchester United as the entity of the last 40 years instead of the last 8. This is a young team with a youngish manager who's inexperienced, who are only just reaching finals. They need to learn on the job. You're not just going to put one person in there that's going to fix all that. No. You need to just allow this to take a bit of time.
Yeah. Roy here says, has Ollie improved Rashford? Lol, that's a little excitable. Surely Rashford improved as he matured. Well, not every player gets better as they get older. There are plenty of players who peak at about 20 or who really stagnate at about 20. That's not necessarily the case that just because he got older, he got better automatically. And just look at the way Jose Mourinho spoke about Marcus Rashford only months after leaving Manchester United job, saying he's not an attacker. He's been in the league for 5 years now. He doesn't have that about him. He spoke before about saying he doesn't trust Marcus Rashford in those attacking positions. Like, that's not the environment that a player is going to grow like Marcus Rashford has. So yes, you could maybe say some of that growth would have come anyway as Marcus got older, but the environment and the way that Jose spoke about Rashford shows you what he thought of him, and it wasn't as much as Ollie does. There's a couple more super chats actually. JXHNF09.
Yep.
Says, I think Ollie is absolutely the man. The only things I want to see more improvement is load teams and set piece defense. Yes, definitely. Subs will get better with depth. I agree that with that. Getting through a low block and conceding fucking goals from set pieces. We've got the highest set piece conceded percentage of any team in the league, as in the highest percentage of our goals are conceded by set pieces. We just have to sort it out. And Arjun there says, love the content you guys put out. Once again, this podcast has been sponsored by Manscaped.
It certainly has.
Go to the link in the comments or go to manscaped.com and use the code Housen20 at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. It's a great service. We all use it. You've heard of Manscaped. You know them. Use it.
Is our new merchandise store in the comments, in the description?
I bloody well hope so. Let's have a look.
Our new merchandise store is stretford-paddock.myshopify.com. You can go on that. T-shirts like this one is now available in short sleeve, long sleeve, and hoodies, and all that good stuff. Is it in there? It is in there. It is in the description. So click the link in the description. Discount for members. You guys should have seen the community post. Your discount, exclusive discount, is on there. I'll remind that of later. But also, everyone gets Paddock 20. That gets you 20% off if you buy 2 things. Any 2 things, you get 20% off if you use code Paddock 20.
Yeah, we've got loads more merch coming out as well over the summer. So again, that is Stretford-paddock.myshopify.com. Just go in the description. It says merchandise, and then the link next to that is where we sell our merch.
Yep.
It's very good stuff. And like I said, the code there as well. But again, make sure you check out Manscaped. Again, link in the description for that one. Code HOUSEAND20 for 20% off and free shipping. Thank you to everyone at home for joining us today. Thank you, Alex, for joining me here at this bar.
It's nice up here. I like it,
It's nice, isn't it?
Bit of a different set.
Bit of red.
Bit
I
of
like
red.
this line here. It makes it look like we're on two different sets.
We're not.
No, we're not.
We are actually right there.
We are right there. Right, thank you again for everyone for joining us. Let us know in the comments as well. Do you think Ollie deserves a contract extension? And these players that basically every mainstream media outlet has linked us with, we're talking Sancho, Torres, Kane, Rice, Varane. Do you think we'll sign any of those? And do you think we need those players? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you in a bit.